Hello all, I'm Jackie Fox. This is one of the teams that I am best prepared for Limited for, so I just wanted to kind of show you what I'm working with. I'm using Sylvie, Addison Rae, and Elena. I have a slightly different defensive configuration. We'll see that around the end of the video. Things that this team doesn't do particularly well against is a lot of magic. Especially bulkier magic teams or magic teams that have either evasion or survivability. Those can be particularly tough, but it does evade well. It does, as you see, evade well even against guaranteed hit units. Especially, once you get Addison Rae's buff to correctly apply itself to Elena, it becomes pretty difficult for a lot of units to hit her. There are units that are going to have higher levels of accuracy, and unfortunately, looking at Gysahl, courage remove as well. So, particularly dangerous units, Winter Luartha can also be pretty impactful. Against this team specifically, more the merrier can be really tough. As you see in this fight, she's fairly accurate. And she also has ways of landing stuff like poison and silence, which can be really debilitating against a team of all mages. That being said, she's not the worst thing that can happen, and generally speaking, I would say that the wind matchup isn't bad. The strongest matchup for certain is the matchup against lightning, because, well, no one for lightning is really all that accurate unless you super duper de-duper build for it, and people really aren't. So as long as you are moving in quickly with this team while your sure hit avoid on Elena is still going strong, and it's going to be applied on her second buff if you get her near her to where she's using barrier bop first. So that's going to give you even more time. When I was applying it earlier in the fight, I was finding that it would often run out a little bit too soon. But this isn't necessarily the best rushing team, so you do need a little bit of survivability even beyond that sure hit avoidance, because you might run past that. And that's usually where Sylvie's healing comes in. Now, if you want to rush a bit harder, putting Sylvie in Blade Soul so she's a lot more supportive with damage and doesn't heal spiral can be pretty helpful, but generally speaking, I think, especially defensively, you really want her to have a full life in her in her access. Not necessarily raise, because that kind of has garbage odds, and often that character will just kind of get struck out the game the next hit anyways. So that one can be kind of a waste of a turn for a unit that can be impactful in so many other ways, but so far this team is working pretty well. My versus light matchup has been pretty good, although I absolutely imagine that there are Ruin Sterns especially that would give me a lot of trouble. But a lot of the light matchups that I tried earlier seem to work out pretty well for me. But the thing that was probably the most consistently troublesome was either like light magic with survivability, especially if I ran up against another Elena. So the mirror match against my defense team, which I set up a little bit differently before I go after it, just based on what I learned from my offense team. And yeah, that's pretty destructive in both directions. Neither team is going to come out of this okay. But against more physical teams, especially light physical teams, it's pretty easy to sweep through them. Again, Winged Stern would be probably the biggest problem that the light element could throw at this team. So with all of that being said, I'm going to let you go ahead and finish this video out. There are a couple of teams in the guild that I didn't fight, obviously, and I don't think any of us really has time for me to do all that. But most of these were 6-star runs. There was a couple of exceptions. I think one where I lost in the first round, which may not be in here, and a rematch where I lost against that same team in my second. I decided to take the riskier fight second. That would be versus a fire team with Sorrow, which I really wasn't doing well against, whether it's my first or last, so I figured I'd fight it second. But most of these runs came out at a good 6 stars, so I'd say this team is performing pretty well, and it might be kind of, I don't know, it might be pretty strong in the meta. Again, I think Fire Evasion is pretty strong against it. And I think that there are some ways to do things. Like, I would imagine that a double spear win team, like, I don't know, maybe June, just because she can be kind of tough to take off the board. But June, Winter Luartha, and Liberal Glaciella, like, all 3 of them could do pretty well together. You know, there's a lot of ways that you could go, but I think having a good high accuracy unit on your team is going to be pretty important, especially on defense, just because with the magic up, it feels like a good time to be cheesing with Addison Rae and Elena. Specifically, just because they get a lot of fucking beef added to their attacks because of this, and it's pretty awesome. Sylvie's heals just get better, and then she slaps pretty hard too herself when she gets in range for damage, and all 3 of these ladies can either slow or agility down. And by the way, either of the AoE slows, they're both diamond AoEs on Sylvie or Addison Rae, will stack with the AoE agility down for Elena's limit break. So lots of chances to lap the living shit out of people. If you want to see a little bit more with these 3 ladies, I also did do an arena video. My game plan for that's a little bit different because I don't have to worry about 2 fights. I'm trying to get it more to the point where she's kind of only using her buffs, you know. In this, I'm trying to get her to not maybe use Soul Regram twice in the first fight. But sometimes it does kind of work out like that because she can't get in range fast enough. But as you can see in Guild Battle, turning on Sword Song Formation is a good way to give her another thing to do that can keep her from using that buff too many times. But also, I think in this particular instance, she didn't get Courage onto Elena, which is proving to be fine against this particular team because they don't, you know, the sure hit avoidance ain't such a big deal, I guess. I mean, that wasn't a sure hit attack. Again, she's just fairly accurate. I hope this was my second fight. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the one where she just comes in and bodies them for me. Right. Sylvie can be pretty tough for like non-DPS characters to interact with because she does have a lot of defense and spirit and does tend to buff her defense and spirit really early on into matches. So she can be really tough for like everybody but the newest DPSs to deal with. So I just dig her. I can't wait till she gets a 140. She's gonna be such a nutty, like this team is gonna be so great. Maybe they won't give her a 140 for a while just so this team will never be as strong as it could be, but nah. Anyways, that is a lot of thoughts on what this team can do and can't do, maybe what you should use to try to counter it if you see it, or you know, how to think about it not being able to counter your defense team so easily. Lots of options here, lots of things to work with, and I wish you the best of luck. Anyways, there's like another 25 minutes of me busting ass, so enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. As with most of my videos, even though this is pretty much exclusively going out to my guildmates and stuff, at least for a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll release it later just as a way to have some extra content in there, but I'm not going to give away your defense teams or anything. But like any normal video, there is going to be a link in the description leading to the entirety of the Jackie Fox Media Empire. If you haven't joined my Discord yet, there will be a link for that in there. I also have books for sale, other channels. I've recently launched a lot of podcasts, just all sorts of things. If you want to zone out and listen to some Jackie Fox as you go to sleep or on your drive to work, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, middle of the day, I don't give a fuck. You can watch it whenever you want. The link is in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.